welcome back to a Fresh Perspective on Business podcast. I'm Vicky Taylor. I'm the manager of Fresh Perspective. We are a recruitment business with a twist, and today I am joined by Laura Leyland.
Hello, I am Laura Leyland and the managing director of Fresh Perspective. We are a recruitment business with a twist. We genuinely care about finding the right people for the right businesses. It is not just about any bum on any seat. It needs to be the right bottom.
It does. How are you today, Laura?
I'm good. I feel like I've not been on the podcast for ages. But I always feel like that.
I do. I feel like even when you just have a week off, it feels like you've not been here for ages.
And I've done TikToks with the microphone as a prop, but I've not spoken into it for a while, I feel.
Yeah, I get a bit nervous as well. And then as soon as you get into it, you're all right, aren't you?
Yeah. and I'm feeling, I actually feel good. I've been tired recently because I've been busy with meetings and events. But last night, I had a bath.
Lovely.
I got Pete, that's my fiance, to give me a foot rub. Because it really relaxes me. I don't know why. Honestly, it's like I've had some kind of sedative when I've had a foot rub.
I don't like people touching my feet. I wouldn't like that. Does he
Oh.
proper do you know what's it called? The arch of your foot.
Yeah.
I don't like that being touched.
And it needs to be a firm massage, otherwise it tickles.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm like a mushy pea after it. And then I slept. I think I went to bed at 11, which is possibly too late, but I slept 7 whole hours. I was just woke up by my alarm at 6.
Oh wow, that's really good. I love nights like that where you close your eyes and then that's it until the morning.
I know, and I actually felt all right. I did get up. I didn't snooze as much as I would normally.
Oh,
Although I was really dying for the toilet because I've been asleep 7 hours.
why do you normally get up in the night?
Yeah.
Oh, I never do that.
Oh,
I make
man,
sure I
that
stop
must be-
drinking like an hour and a half.
And I was really thirsty last night. So it's a miracle. It's obviously the magical foot rub. So
Yeah.
sadly for Peter, he's going to have to do that every night.
I'm sure he'll be fine with that. Yeah. Oh, what a good guy. He's a good lad, is Peter.
So what are we talking about today, Vicky T?
So, this is number 218 of the podcast. I don't know how we've got to that.
Me
but
neither.
we are talking about, is recruitment really broken? Tackling the industry's biggest challenges. And there is a lot.
There are. If it's broken, we're going to get out our bandages, recruitment bandages and plasters.
Yeah, we're going to try and fix it. But before we get into it all, Laura, please will you tell us what that is in Spanish?
Sí, claro. That's of course.
Yes.
Or is it por supuesto? Can't remember. But it is episodio número 218.
Oh, lovely.
Lots of D's.
I'm glad you said that because I would not have been able to say that at all.
I think on a podcast recently, I think I tried to spell it phonetically for you. Did that help?
You have, yes.
Oh, yay.
Yes, and I really appreciated that. Thank you very much. I was looking at it and I was like, this is how it's said. She must have wrote it down, how it's said, because it's a weird one, that, isn't it? The one that you wrote for me.
Yeah, so just tried to say it right as you would say it to make it helpful. So I'm glad it worked.
Thank you.
Yes. You are welcome.
It did
Anytime,
help.
babes.
As much as I'm getting better at the Spanish, I still need it written that way for me. So thank you.
Right. Okay. So do you think recruitment is broken?
The industry as a whole, probably yes. Do you?
I think the reputation is, although I was at an event earlier this week and I was speaking to a guy and it was a networking event, so everyone's like, oh, what do you do? And there's so much to that question. I was so tempted to I run a business, we do recruitment, I have 3 pugs. Because those are the things that I do, but they don't mean that. They mean what's your job title?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I run a recruitment business. And then I've said it a few times and I'm like, it just sounds really lackluster because it is so much more than what it sounds like or what people perceive. And I said to Tony, who came with us, also co-host on the podcast, apparently he's head of broadcasting and entertainment.
Self-proclaimed.
Self-proclaimed. And I said, do you think there's another way of saying, instead of just saying, oh, I've got a recruitment business, because there is a negative stereotype attached to that word. I'm like, how do I say it? And he's like, you could just say you help businesses grow and also retain their people. And they're like, oh, it invites questions about how do you do that? Like, well, we do recruitment, we do HR, and we do recruitment training.
I know, because we are so much more than just a recruitment business. We have lots of, what's the phrase, strings to our bow.
Yes.
It's not just we find people for jobs. Like, we do a lot more around that to teach people the best way to do it and do it themselves.
And there's so much to it. But when I say I have a recruitment business, it probably doesn't invite any questions because people assume that they know what that means.
Yeah.
They won't notice that I don't say I have a recruitment agency. But that's what they'll think when I say I work in recruitment, I've got a recruitment business. And they'll think, oh, I've worked with recruiters, hopefully positively, maybe not. And they'll just make an assumption. So I'm like, I felt like I really needed to say something different, but I didn't know what it was, because you can't be like a paragraph when someone goes, no. What do you do? And they're like, I'm a solicitor, I'm an accountant, technically I'm a recruiter, but because I felt, because of the negative stereotype, I think answering your question in a really long way, I felt like I needed to say more and not use that word.
But do you not think it's bad that you feel like you can't say that word?
It's because the reason is probably when I've met people and I've said I work recruitment, so many, like obviously not everybody, and it's probably not the majority, but a high amount of people say, oh, I hate recruiters.
It's rude, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
we're like,
just stood there, yeah. Oh, funny.
Ha ha ha, very funny. And like, what do you say to that? I'm like, why? Rude.
I mean, we know why though, don't we? Like, because it is this stereotype.
Imagine someone's like, oh, what you do, a solicitor? And I know I didn't have a great time with my last conveyancing solicitor, but I'm not going to go, oh, I hate solicitors. Because it's rude.
I feel like I'm really guilty of that though, like with conveyancers. Because I've had a bad experience. But I wouldn't say to someone's face, if they told me they were a solicitor, I wouldn't be like, oh, I hate solicitors.
Why not?
Because it's rude, isn't it?
Exactly. Because they're humans.
Do that, yeah.
And equally, when you needed to buy, if you need to buy and or sell a house, are you going to do it yourself because of your bad experience?
Absolutely not.
What would you do instead?
Go to a different conveyancing solicitors. But I wouldn't not use one just because I've had a bad experience with one or two.
No, but if you had a bad experience and you're going to look for a different one, how would you find a better one?
Referrals, look at the Google reviews. We have a lot of good
Google reviews. Very good. We haven't prepped for this, by the way, so Vicky's doing really well.
Thank you.
But you would be like, right, you probably say to them, look, I've not had a great experience. They were really slow. They didn't communicate with me. Blah, blah, blah. And you're like, so these things are really important to me. And then let them answer that statement, that question, and no one's going to go, oh, we're dead slow and we won't communicate with you. But you will be able to see that from the Google reviews. But you're setting out your expectations that that's what you want as a customer, and they know in order to deliver success for you, that's what they've got to be. You wouldn't just think, I'm not doing it myself, I hate all solicitors, I'm never going to use one ever again, which is kind of what happens in recruitment.
It is, but we try to flip it, don't we? So the things that are negative in the recruitment world, we don't do any of them things.
No, we do not.
We take the positives of them, so the high fees and the lack of communication and all that kind of stuff. We're the opposite.
We are the opposite. But that's why recruitment is broken in a way, because it's got so bad that the stereotype and the industry reputation is negative, that people think they don't want to talk to recruiters. They don't want to go to a recruiter for help even though they need it, because they don't trust them and they've had a bad experience, and they're going to try and do it themselves but might not do very well. Where do they go? And so it is broken.
It is. I don't think it helps that recruitment is something that people do think they can do themselves. So they're like, well, I don't need a recruiter. Whereas like when you were saying before with a conveyancing solicitor, you kind of don't have a choice.
No.
You would not be able to do that on your own. So I think people just try and avoid recruiters and try and do it themselves.
Yeah.
Which isn't the answer. It's about finding a good recruiter.
Exactly, because you can do it yourself sometimes, not always, but what is the impact of doing it yourself on your business? Should you be selling? Should you be looking after your customers and going meeting them? Should you be training and developing your team? Where could your time be better spent than doing the recruitment yourself? So people are it only cost me, I think the average is maybe between £1,000 and £2,000. It costs a HR manager to recruit for an administrator, if you look at the time it takes. But then what's the cost of them not focusing on HR stuff? And if that person, I've just had a call before the podcast from a guy who's had 2 accepted offers and then both changed mine or not shown up. One he found himself, one was with an agency. So he's going to have to go again for the 3rd time. So what is the cost of that time? So, yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to use a recruiter, but you've got to pick the right one. It hopefully is us at Fresh Perspective. At the end of this podcast, you're like, oh my God, they are the go-to gals and guys for all of my recruitment probs. But if it's not us, that's fine, because it should be a cultural match and a personality fit as well.
Yeah, like, we aren't for everybody, because we are different. We're very, what's the word? Very positive. Upbeat, lively.
Good word.
Yeah.
I was going to say energetic, but that's different. I think lively is a better word.
Yeah, which isn't for everyone. But that's fine.
That is fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the reason why me and Vic decided to do this topic is because I was on a panel recently. It was a marketing panel randomly, even though I'm not a marketer, discussing all things marketing. But one of the questions I got was what that I was asked was, what's your biggest challenge in business right now? And things that flipped through my head were the cost crisis, wages going up, supply costs going up. Because of those things, people have started to do recruitment themselves, so we've not had as many incoming leads. So sales is harder. Maybe a few problems across the team, because some people have had personal circumstances that you can't help. They're all humans. So a variety of different things flitting into my head. And then one thing just pings. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like a light bulb will literally gone on over my head, because I've never thought about it in this way. But one of the biggest challenges we have always faced, and I think continue to face, is the fact that we work in recruitment. If we were a HR consultancy, people would be more receptive to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there isn't a negative connotation with that sector. And I know I'm massively generalising, and you might be listening to this thinking, I have not had a negative recruitment experience. I didn't know the reputation was like this. And that's amazing. And you stay like that.
Yeah, you stay in that nice little bubble.
But the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because that is one of the biggest challenges. So the stereotype is bad. So when I say work in recruitment, I am so used to people being negative about that. People have turned away from me at networking, blah, blah, blah. People say they hate recruiters. So I feel like I can't use that word. When I get people to listen, or when Vicky gets people to listen for just literally 2 minutes, we can talk about why we're different, how we support businesses, and what's the positive impact to businesses because of that. People are interested. And so the fact that the reputation is negative then goes in our favour, because we really shine in comparison. So it's a double-edged sword, and it's hard to cut through the noise. So that's why we wanted to talk about recruitment. What is it? Why does the sector have a bad reputation? How can that be changed? Is it vital to business growth and success? You still need good people. Is it better to outsource it or do it yourself? Those are kind of the key points I think we'll cover.
Yes, we
will. Wonderful. So, Vicky, why do we have this? Why do people have this negative viewpoint on recruiters? What are common misconceptions and challenges?
So most people that you speak to have worked with recruiters at some point, and they tend to go for the cheapest ones, which probably isn't the...
Yeah, they're like, oh, I've negotiated 10%. I'm like, did you get any CVs? It's like, no.
I'm like, yeah.
Great.
So if you are going to work with one that maybe is a bit better, you high fees. Some of the charges can be absolutely ridiculous. Like, is average 17 to 22% of a salary?
Yeah, no. I would say it used to be 15, but over the last couple of years it's crept up, probably because of the cost crisis, etc. But I would say the number that keeps cropping up more and more is 18%.
Right, okay.
I would say.
That's the average. But I've spoken to clients before, and they've paid like 25%, 30%. And if you're, say it's like a really high level role, and I don't know, say they're on like 100 grand, just for maths for me. 30% is 30k.
Oh my God, yeah.
For
it's
one
a lot of money.
person,
So you get another person for that price.
Yeah.
What you find as well is, who was it? I was speaking to someone recently. Can't remember who it was. But basically, they're trying to streamline recruitment in their business, and the managers are a bit cowboyish and go and do their own thing. So they just work with a recruiter that has maybe contacting them the most, sent them a good speculative seat, yada, yada, yada. So then they're like, yeah, work with us. So they've sent the terms over, but no one's read the terms because everyone assumes all recruitment terms are the same, which they are very similar for agency, but things you need to look at is the percentage fee. the rebate period, the candidate ownership period. So if sometimes it's 12 months, so if they've sent you that CV, you hire that person 11 months later into a different position, they will come knocking for their fee. So look at that, look at the rebate, and then it's the percentage. So they will send you terms at standard terms. So standard terms will probably be 25% upwards.
And you have to negotiate.
You've got to negotiate.
That.
And if you don't negotiate before you engage with the candidate, you get through the process, you offer the candidate they've accepted, and you get your invoice. And you're like, oh, I don't want to pay 25%. I'm like, well, you signed the contract. You've offered the person. They've started. So you'd need to review and negotiate at the beginning to try and get it down. And this is when people are like, oh, I've got it down to 10%. I'm like, great. How did you get on with it? It's like, oh, I didn't feel it. I'm like, it's 10. So it's like 15% of something and have a candidate is probably better than 10% of nothing and have no candidate.
But I think this is the other problem as well. It is like lack of transparency, isn't it, from recruiters?
So that's
like,
a sneaky tactic.
Yeah, exactly. Like we go through everything like that with clients before they come on board. Like we explain our pricing model, what the fee is going to be. Like it's agreed before they sign.
Yeah, and it's
anything.
Fixed.
It's a fixed fee. Yeah, so it's there in black and white on the screen in front of them. They can see what it is. It's full transparency with everything. We're very open about how our payments work, and nothing's like hidden away from anyone. Like, but with these kind of contracts that are just like fired over, there's all sorts of like hidden loopholes and stuff in there, isn't there? And you could, like you said, like it could be biting you on the bum like 11 months down the line
without even realising it. You might think, and you might have forgot that the agency sent you that CV or CVs. You might have advertised 11 months later for a different position, and even if it's if 2 or 3 of those candidates applied and you hired them, you would have to pay the agency. So if you've agreed, I don't know, 20% on a 30 grand salary, you have to pay 18 grand. And you would have forgotten. It's 11 months. It might not even be you that's done it. It could be someone else in the business, but the business is liable for that payment. So it's really, really important. And so they go together, don't they, really, lack of transparency and high fees, because there is a lack of transparency with the contract and the terms at the beginning in terms of your percentage. And that's why, so we charge for time. So we'd work out how many days will be in the project, multiply that by our day rate, which creates the fixed fee that Vicky mentioned. And so that's it, doesn't go up. And whilst we might be cheaper on some, I know the cheapest is not always the best, so we don't say we're the cheapest, but we're cost effective and we add a lot of value. But as salaries go higher, we become more and more cost effective because we don't work to a percentage. Whereas with an agency, if you're working on 20% on a 50 grand salary, then you offered them a higher job because they were amazing at 60 grand, you have to pay the 20% on the new salary, which is an extra 2 grand.
Yeah, so it's hard to budget for stuff like that then as well, isn't it? Because you don't know what you're going to offer someone at the end of the process. Where with us, if you've got a budget for recruitment and you know what that is, like, you know how much you've spent on it from the start before you get anyone in the position.
Absolutely. And if you hired more of the candidates we submit, there's no extra charge, whether that's 11 months down the line or at the time of the vacancy. So touching on lack of transparency, how else would you say there's a lack of transparency in the sector, like separate to what we've just discussed?
Putting me on the spot here. The only other bit that I know about is it when they take people from companies, when they place people in companies and take them.
Yeah, so they could. So another challenge that we hear about is when they've placed someone in a job and then 6 months later they'll come and take that person. I mean, obviously that person is allowing themselves to be taken, they're not being kidnapped and put somewhere else. But then they'll ring you up and go, oh, we've heard John's left. Do you want help replacing him? And you're like, hang on a minute. You're one of the reasons John has left because you contacted him about a job. So then double whammy, they get a placement fee from John in his other job and they're hoping that you will use them to replace John. So they get 2 sets of fees.
Yeah, because there is no loyalty to the client, really.
That's probably another challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no loyalty there. It's just getting people in these jobs to get the fees in, because they obviously only get paid when people start their job, which is tough.
It is tough. You cannot... yes, there's bad behaviour that happens in the recruitment industry, and that's why it has a negative stereotype, because people get into it for the money, the fees, the commission. They're salespeople, really, rather than people-centred people trying to help people get a job. Yeah, they want to sell people, which makes them sound like traffickers. But because if they only get paid when someone starts, and usually they're pitted against each other, so they have to race to candidates, so quality goes out the window, which is another issue that people have. They just send me irrelevant CVs. So quality goes out the window because they're in a fight to get to candidates first. And also, because of the way that they're incentivized in, and the way the model has always been, they have KPIs. If they don't send in a certain number of CVs every day and hit those KPIs, then they possibly get sacked. So they might send you an irrelevant CV because they just want to keep their job and hit their CV target.
Oh, it's tough, isn't it?
It's tough being a recruiter. It's not. There's not all recruiters are bad. We aren't the only good recruitment business. There are good recruitment agencies with amazing people that work in them that care about candidates and care about businesses and operate. They don't operate on our charging model like we do, but they've got good values and they're good people. But it is a tough gig, and so they don't always deserve the bad reputation. I'm not saying all other recruiters are rubbish and you should only consider us. I mean, kind of agree that you should only consider us, but not everybody else is rubbish. It's just the model. The model creates this bad behaviour.
Yeah.
It suits the bad people and it tars the good people with the same brush. Tar, is that the right word?
Yeah. But I just think it's crazy that that's the way that the recruitment industry has been built. That you aren't paid until the whole thing is done. Whereas what other industry do you know of that works like that? Like, you pay...
Probably the only one, maybe. Is it a estate agency? Is that the same? Do you only pay if the house sales goes through, or do you pay them a fee to deal with it? Or does it depend?
Don't know. I've never sold a house, so don't know.
I've not done it for a long time, so I can't remember, but maybe we could look at... But nowhere else, I don't think. I've always said estate agent is very similar because you've got your two sets of clients. Your buyers and your sellers, your clients and your candidates.
I didn't think of it like that. Yeah.
You operate for the seller, which is your client, and your buyer is your candidate.
Yeah.
You arrange viewings and interviews.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it might be that one. But I do think some of them you might pay up front, and if the house sale doesn't go through, they just make sure that they sell it at some point. Obviously, they keep continuing, which is a bit like our promise to fill. But then, just to finish off the lack of transparency, when we do a proposal with a client, so we put together a slide deck, we jump on a Teams call, or we do it in person, and we share the screen and walk them through what we'll do. So how we've understood what they need, what it's going to cost, and exactly what we'll do. When we break down our process and this is what we're going to do, lots of people say, oh my God, I didn't realise there was so much. And that's possibly the lack of transparency that you have in traditional recruitment, is that they don't tell the clients what they're going to do, but they're going to charge them 18% for the privilege. So the client doesn't feel like they're getting value because they don't know what it is they're getting. They just think they're going to get a person for that fee, but they probably don't realise the work that actually goes into finding those people.
Yeah, because I do think like clients do have a misconception that it's just they've found one CV from somewhere and just flung it over and hope for the best, which might happen, but it might not have.
Sometimes you get lucky, don't you?
Yeah.
But it swings and roundabouts. Some jobs in any business are more profitable than others. If you get a job where you just get lucky with a candidate, right time, right person, amazing, your profits are going to be higher on that. But most of the time, it takes a long time and your profits will be lower, so it balances out. But I do think because recruiters don't tell them, clients then only assume, and people assume the worst. They just think that we fire an email to our database, sit back, feet on the table, have a brew.
I wish it were that easy.
Everybody replies going, me, I'm this person for the job, and then they just send them over. Like, that would be amazing if that's how it worked. But what maybe as well, even if that was the case, yes, you might think this is not worth thousands of pounds, but what work has gone into cultivating that database of high quality, engaged candidates that will respond and be interested in vacancies and trust that recruiter to walk them through it and handle their application. So you're not just paying, like if you were going for an operation, you're not just paying for the operation, you're paying for the doctor's skill. Yeah. They've learned and they've been to college. And we don't, there's no like recruitment qualifications per se, but you are paying for their expertise. So like the whole point of this podcast is not to just sell recruitment services at Fresh, although we would not turn you away. It's just to explain. But yes, recruiters are to blame in some respects. They don't explain what they do for the money. So then there is a lack of transparency. The clients have to assume they don't attribute value to the work because they don't know what goes on. And then the lack of quality could be because they're not a great recruiter, but it could also be they're under a lot of stress and pressure within their employer. Or the fact that you're pitting them against each other. Like recruitment gladiators.
Yeah, it does sound like a dog-eat-dog world in like a normal recruitment agency. I don't think I would be able to hack it.
I was talking to someone yesterday about a sales job, and I'm assuming when they go on holiday, the rest of the sales team will look after their prospects and their clients, and they're like, yeah, absolutely. But in my experience of working in an agency, that doesn't happen. People won't look after it, or they'll nick it.
I was going to say they steal it from you, don't they? Mean.
Mm-hmm. What else would you say? Are there any more challenges and misconceptions that we've not covered?
Maybe just bad experiences for candidates as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you do hear that. You do hear people that have it on the other side, where they've been like, I've applied for jobs and I've not heard back from the recruiter, or I've not been updated, or I went
Which
for
is terrible.
It is. So we let everybody know.
You should do. They're humans.
Yeah. So either by email or by phone, depending on what part of the process they're in. But every single person that applies for a job, we will let them know if they've been successful or unsuccessful.
Yeah, at the very minimum, they get an email, don't they, telling them that they've not been successful, and where we can give feedback, we give feedback to help.
Yes.
And then a lot of people are like, oh, we'll use a recruiter, and the quality were rubbish, and when they started, they weren't very good, and it's always the recruiter that's blamed. And to a degree, it may be the recruiter's fault. They might not have done their job properly. They might have not been truthful to you or the candidate to get that person through the door. They may have fluffed up someone's CV. Like, it happens, like bad practice happens, as it does in any industry. But because of the reputation of recruiters, people see them as a necessary evil sometimes. So they don't have a meeting with them about the job. They don't tell them what it is specifically they like and don't like, what the culture is like. They don't give them the time to understand that. And then if you're working with 3 or 4 agencies, you're not going to do that with 3 or 4 agencies.
No.
So they don't necessarily have all the information about what a good candidate is for you specifically. They'll just be sending you people and hope that they fit. They will do from a skills and experience perspective, but maybe not from a cultural perspective. So my advice would be, if you try to use one recruitment partner, or a very small number, and just give some time at the beginning to explain the job, the company, the opportunity, what you want, what you don't want, and work with the recruiter. If they send you CVs that are not right, tell them why. If you've interviewed a candidate and don't like them, tell them why. Tell me why.
It's all open communication.
Yeah, because then they'll take that on board. Or they should do if they're a good recruiter. They'll take that on board and they'll change their adverts, change the questions, send you better candidates. But if you don't give them that information, just keep saying, no, they're not for us, they're not for us, they'll never, ever be able to learn what is for you. And so it could just elongate the process, or you may end up just hiring someone and it could turn out to be the wrong person. And don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, the right recruiter, a good person, will help with interview questions and make sure that you're drawing out the information into, because it's our job to find you the right candidates. It's your job to interview them, and collectively we make an offer to the right person. So work with your recruiters. Don't keep them at arm's length, and ask them for help that might not be standard practice. So can you suggest some good interview questions for this vacancy? And a good recruiter will be like, absolutely, I would suggest these.
And that is what we would do.
Absolutely. Okay. So, well, the next section was personal experiences with recruitment. But so, you didn't come from a recruitment background, did you?
No, this is the first time that I've worked in recruitment. I just get my knowledge of agencies from you and Emily, or from clients that I speak to, because we always ask them if they work with.
And candidates?
So we always ask people if they work with agencies before. So, yeah, it's not normally a good response when we ask that question.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
Well, have you had an experience with recruitment as a candidate before you joined?
No.
So you were completely blank slate?
Yeah.
Aww.
And I was like going into this world of recruitment. I didn't have these preconceptions, and then you learn like the dark side of recruitment. And if these things go on, it's really bad. Like some of the stories that you hear, it's awful.
It is bad. Yeah, me and Emily have had some shocking experiences as an employee of a recruitment agency.
Yeah.
And as a candidate.
Oh, have you as well?
Yeah. And I've been an employee, I've been a candidate, and I've been a client. So, because in our last job, me and Emily were the in-house team, employed recruitment team for a tech company in Manchester. So I'd been a client because we got in there obviously to reduce agency spend and create a recruitment department, but I still had a small PSL just in case I needed the help for anything high, if it was spike in volume or anything specific or niche. And I remember I got off the phone to one person. He was asking if he could help me with a vacancy I had, and I said yes, actually. And then I put the phone down. 10 minutes later, someone else in the Manchester office came over and, are you working with this agency? I'm like, yeah, why? I went, he's just rang me about a job. So he got off the phone to me. I'd given him the job to work on. We'd agreed terms. And then he rang the guy, one of the consultants, about a job. It literally in the same hour.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Yeah. So when I talk to clients about it, I get it. I'm not just a recruiter. I have been a client and I've been an employee and a candidate. So I understand it from quite a wide range, different sides of the fences.
That's good. And you had a bad experience on all the sides.
On all the sides, like,
yeah.
As a candidate, if you get an interview and a client is interested in it, you are the best thing since sliced bread. They cannot get enough of you. And if you don't get that job, you never hear from him again. But you don't always hear. I never always heard if I assumed I didn't get the job because I didn't get an offer, but I never knew why.
How are people meant to like improve and?
Well, they don't care about that though,
No.
do they? It's not of their. If they're not a people-centered person, if they're just more of a salesperson in recruitment, they're bothered about the sale. They're not bothered about me. They didn't get the job. I didn't make them any money. So you kind of understand it, but I also don't agree with it.
It's just morally not right, isn't it?
No. And that's it, isn't it? It's the morals and the ethics that are attributed to the sector that we don't agree with, which is why me and Emily decided to set up Fresh, to inject some positivity and some ethics. What else would you add, babes?
To that part?
Or just any? So we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the order we intended to.
No, I mean, we've gone through why we're different and why we want to restore faith in recruitment, haven't we?
Oh, I like your Chinese analogy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, it's true though, isn't it? Like, if you ordered a Chinese and it was bad, you wouldn't be like, I'm never eating Chinese food ever again, would you?
No way, because I'd be missing out.
You'd go to a different Chinese. You wouldn't be like, all Chinese food is bad.
No, just that place.
Yeah.
I just won't go there.
So why would it be any different when it comes to recruitment? If you use one recruitment agency and you're like, they were bad, you're not like, I'm never using a recruiter ever again.
Nor would you be, if you had a bad Chinese, would you be rude to all Chinese restaurants and takeaways?
Exactly. You wouldn't walk into the next one and be like,
I hate Chinese.
Yeah, you wouldn't, would you? Like rolling your eyes and huffing and puffing around.
Bartering on the price.
Yeah. You'd be like, I want this for £5. You wouldn't do that. You would go in and be like, with an open mind, and be like, oh, I like Chinese. I need a Chinese right now.
Especially if you've been on a night out.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to try this Chinese and give it a chance.
I love this analogy.
Thank you.
This is, I feel like, more relatable than the conveyancing solicitor
Yeah,
analogy.
maybe.
But we get it, don't we? We understand why you feel the way you do about our sector. We empathise and we sympathise, and we are always happy to explain how we can improve that and make that better for you. And we are trying to change the perception of the industry, one vacancy, one CV, one client at a time.
I love that. Maybe that should be our new slogan.
Like, step by step.
It should be our new slogan. That
Right,
changing the recruitment industry one vacancy at a time.
Changing recruitment industry one vacancy at a time. Right, new strap line. Wow,
There we go.
amazing.
Look at that.
But yeah, I think we've explained very clearly said what we agree with, what we don't agree with, how Fresh has kind of plugged the gaps and got rid of the negativity. Because when you're a recruiter for your business, it should be exciting.
Yeah.
So you're growing your business, you need new people, you've got more customers, everything is amazing. It's well exciting. People don't attribute that feeling to recruitment. Well, you should do, because hiring new people into your business is exciting. Meeting these new people at interview should be exciting. People just feel jaded and cynical about the whole thing.
Like it's a chore and it's just this added just meh thing that they just can't be bothered to do.
And then it's never going to be good.
Because you're going into it with
closed mind, negativity, low energy.
And you'll get negative results if you're going into it with negativity.
It's just met with sighing and eye rolling and sometimes the odd swear word.
Which we don't mind.
We don't mind. If you want to swear with us, that's fine. Someone spelled out a word to me on a Teams call this week. I'm like, you can just be yourself with me. Just say the words.
They spelled it out?
Yeah.
Oh, cute.
Maybe began with T and ended with T.
Oh, wow. That's like a high level swear word, I think.
Maybe why I spelled it out. I'm like, it's fine. I don't mind. You be yourself.
No, but we're all right with that.
No judgment here.
Absolutely not.
I think one thing we've probably not talked about as much is the loyalty piece.
Mm-hmm.
So if you work with one agency, one partner, fresh perspective, and you are loyal to them, you've got more loyalty with them. They will dedicate more time to the project and you probably get a better service. You unfortunately can't start recruitment agencies working with multiple, maybe working with your competition, working on similar jobs in your area. They'll send you the CV and they'll send the CV to the people just because they need to get paid. They need to spread their risk because it is high risk, high reward. They charge a lot, but there's no guarantee they're going to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. So they spread their risk by sending the CVs to as many people as they can, so someone will want that person. So if they send 5 people to 5 businesses, the best outcome for them is that one of those businesses will take one of all of those 5. So they get paid 5 times.
But it drives the price up then, doesn't it? Because say if you've got a good candidate that then goes to 5 different companies, they all want to interview and then all want to offer, you're in the driving seat then, aren't you? Like, well, this company's offering 40 grand, so you're going to have to offer 45. And obviously, as the salary goes up, the more the recruiter gets paid.
Or if they've got 20% agreed with someone else who wants that candidate and they've only got 17 with you, they'll be more likely to want the candidate to take the other job because they get more money. Yeah. Not everyone does that because it's ethically wrong, but some do. But with Fresh, just to add to that, we won't take, because we charge for time, we don't take on competing pieces of work because it would be massive conflicts of interest because of whose time would it be, so we just don't do it. So the CVs we send to you, we have not sent to anybody else. We haven't talked to candidates about anybody else, only you. They get the full force of our passion, knowledge and excitement for your business, your opportunity, your job.
Yay. I think we've covered everything else, haven't we?
I agree. Yes. Well, we just wanted to put the faith back into recruitment to show you that it can be done well with positivity and it actually can be enjoyable.
Yeah, and it's really rewarding as well.
Oh my God, when I do my pep talks, I'm like,
remember,
CVs not just CVs, they're humans. And for every person for every CV and every person you place into a job, you positively impacted somebody's life and the lives of the people around them.
I love it when you do that. I feel like you need to do that again soon because I think the team love it as well.
And then from a business perspective, we're facilitating growth and success. Without good people, you cannot succeed in business and you cannot grow your business. And so good people are really important. So as good recruiters, we facilitate business growth and success. Yeah. And that's also really fluffy and positive.
Yeah, it's lovely to be a part of that. And it's really nice when you see people that you've placed or companies where you've recruited for them and you see it on LinkedIn and they're like, look at these new people we've got, or someone's writing, I love my new job and whatever. It's nice, isn't it?
Oh, it's so nice. Yeah, it can be the hardest job in the land, but it also can be super rewarding.
Yeah, it is the hardest job in the land. I'm not going to lie to you. It's tough, but it is really rewarding.
Yay. Wonderful. Okay. So if you've liked today's episode, give us a follow. If you're listening on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever, please leave us a review and tell other people about this podcast.
Yes, please.
Wonderful. Right. Okay. Well, thanks for listening, guys. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.